Rokani Media Football it is. And we are talking Semenyo. Guys, it's really heating up. I tell you. It's heating up. Looks like the hottest asset on the market during the January transfer window is Semenyo. That is it. Something that you least expected, but he's a player that top clubs are obviously looking at. Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham Hotspur, Man City. Close to 5 top clubs are really looking out for the guy. And they want to obviously come up and obviously sign him. Who is going to be the lucky team to sign the player? That's what we are obviously going to be breaking down in here onto the Rokani Media Football. Smash like button close to 200 times. Continue to subscribe to this channel. How do you subscribe? Lower left bottom corner is the place to be. Smash the black button that has the word subscribe. After smashing it, hit the notification bell. That will enable you get notified every time we upload a video onto this beautiful channel of ours known as the Rokani Media Football. Not so? Now, Talk Sport, one of the biggest media outlets in the UK, have come up and said that Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Tottenham Hotspur are all tracking Bournemouth winger Antoine Semenyo, with the 25-year-old firmly on the radar of several EPL giants. The Ghana international has a release clause of £65 million that can be triggered during a specific period of the January window. In there for you. Now, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Spurs are obviously fighting hard to see to it that they obviously face off in this battle. Let me start up with Arsenal. Sincerely speaking, I see no reason as to why Arsenal should bring in Antoine Semenyo. That is it. The player that they should obviously bring in should be a versatile player who can play as a right back and play in the central defense. That's the player I think Arsenal should obviously be dying to bring in through. And unless otherwise, Semenyo has history of playing as a right back that I've never even heard of. If Arteta sees a right back in Semenyo, then they have a valid reason to obviously bring him in, because Benjamin White is out for 4 weeks. January is obviously going to be a hard month. White will return around 15th January. And you have no guarantee that he can be there fully fit to support your club throughout. You understand? Yeah? So, that's where I ask myself, why is Arsenal really pushing in for such a transfer? I'm really puzzled about this. Why is Arsenal pushing for such a transfer? This is where I come out and obviously ask, why? The other possibility that Arsenal might be interested in him is they've ever gone ahead to want to spend like £80 million to bring in a player during the January transfer window. And who was that player? It was none other than Moise Caicedo. And the first of the kind they wanted obviously bringing through was Alexandra Isak when he was still playing for Real Sociedad. And Vlahovic when he snapped them and went to Juventus. You understand? So, it shows you that Arsenal has always had an appetite to sign players in January at a very high fee. Because for Isak, 63 million pounds, 68, I think, that was the amount of, I think that was his release clause when he was crossing in through from a side known as Rio Sociedad to Newcastle, and that's what Arsenal wanted. Sorry, that's what Arsenal had to pay, and they wanted Vlahovic around the same amount of money. It was 62, 65, from Fiorentina to come through and join Arsenal. Meaning that for Arsenal, the appetite has always gone ahead to be high when it comes to such players like Semenyo. But I don't think that he's one of those players that I think Arsenal is really wanting to bring in, because he has thrived more as a forward. And when you look at the right side where he plays, Saka, Noni Madueke, Jesus is back, Trossard can play there. They really have a lot of quality. Waneri can play there. No need for such a player. Unless otherwise they're like, if the other teams take him, he'll be the reason as to why they don't win the trophy. Something that I don't think is really right. Now, let's go to Liverpool. Liverpool is another team that has gone ahead to obviously want to sign Semenyo. Liverpool have a record of really bringing in players in January at it expensively. They signed Cody Gakpo from PSV, January transfer window of 2022. Then 2023, I think the January transfer window of 2023, they brought in Luis Diaz, meaning that they have they've always had that appetite of obviously signing players during what we call the January transfer window in here into the Premier League. So for Liverpool, obviously they have a reason to sign him in, as they think Salah is going to be leaving them in the summer transfer window, meaning that they want to bring in Semenyo to obviously get well and fit into the squad, and then later they let off Salah go, and that will be a very beautiful plan. That's why Liverpool is pushing hard to get this player in. Manchester City is another one. I've read the story that they want to sell Rico Lewis and Semenyo. Semenyo was one of those that was hugely wanted by Spurs, and their intent to sign the player is still there. You understand? So, if their intent is still there, that means they still have the appetite to bring in a replacement, and they're looking at Semenyo as one of those that can obviously turn out that right side to be fruitful. And with the same applies to Liverpool. I haven't obviously going to have to break this down. With Salah going to the African Cup of Nations, Mamosh for Man City going for the African Cup of Nations, I think they feel like they need an extra forward to obviously cover it up. I've seen people say Semenyo is obviously going to be playing the African Cup of Nations, but Ghana is not there. And I'm like, where do these reporters get the news from? That's why very many Premier League clubs are really looking at him, because they know he's not obviously going to be playing into the AFCON, and they'll instill him into their club as 1st of January. You understand? That is Semenyo for you. So, Man City has a reason to bring in a player. Spurs, obviously, they love the player because they want to strengthen their forward line further and further and further and further. But I think it's Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City that are really having a chance to sign this player. So, the transfer battle is heating up. Before 10th January, that's when the release clause of £65 million expires. You get? So, if you want to get him, you should get the deal done now. Agree personal terms with the player, take money to the side of Bournemouth. That is it. And they said it, they put that clause because they want to eat that from the 10th to the 31st of January. Those are like 21 days. They can use those days to obviously sign in a player that can act as his replacement. Not so? So, that's what I had for you here onto the Rokani Media Football second video of the day. Antoine Semenyo transfer battle heats up. Your thoughts about him are welcome in the comment section below. 3 top managers are really battling up for the signature of the guy. Tell me, Which team do you think is going to win this battle? I'm out. Bye-bye.